Hey guys, it's Melissa here from melissaopen.com. Welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness. I am so delighted you are here with us today. We have a very special guest with us today. We have with us Miss Rachelle McCloud. She is a mental health therapist and an emotional wellness coach. She is also the creator of an 8-week intensive program called Inner World Transformation. And she is going to talk to us today about how she helps others do brain work to help them resolve anxiety and depression and any issues that those anxiety and depression issues cause around their life. So I cannot wait to get started talking to her today to see how she's helping people.
Hi there, and welcome to Wake Me Up, the podcast where morning people are made. I'm your host, Tyler. Wake Me Up is based on one simple fact. How you start your morning dramatically affects the rest of your day, both your productivity and your happiness. And Wake Me Up is designed to be a one-stop shop for a great morning. By using Wake Me Up and changing your morning routine, you can change your life. Instead of hitting the snooze button over and over, or scrolling through a sea of negative news and judgy social media, just press play on an episode of Wake Me Up. You can even start every episode from bed if you want. Most episodes blend mindfulness and meditation, some simple yoga or stretching, and send you off with a motivational bit. If it's morning for you right now, go ahead and pick out an episode. If not, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. And either way, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.
Welcome to the show today, Rachel. I am so excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I really love that you are helping people with anxiety and depression because we know that after COVID, that there has definitely been a rise in anxiety and depression. And personally, my own children have experienced depression in their own life. So I know how very traumatic it can be to an individual and how much it affects their life. So I love that you're working with people and that you're helping them to resolve that. Before you get started telling us how you do that, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about you? How did you get started doing this?
Yeah, I kind of stumbled my way into it. I think it called me and pulled me along the path. I became a therapist very quickly after graduating from my master's in social work, and I was helping people recover from substance abuse, addiction, and use and abuse. And that's what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be helping people, but I was not really very good at that coming out. And I really was not getting the results that I felt that they deserved. And so I was laid off and pregnant, and I could not get another job. And so my husband was, because people were just like, could only see my belly. My husband's like, why don't you stay home with the kids? And so I did. And I thought that would be awesome, a dream come true. And so I was starting that, and I really started having mental health issues. And then those issues became mental health crises, and it basically shut my entire life down. I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, which was just the tip of the iceberg of a complex childhood trauma and developmental trauma that I had been experiencing, and generational trauma. And I had 3 small children and a massive mental health crisis on my hands. And one of my kids was having a physical issue. And so we were doctor hopping, and I finally got off the beaten path and went to this energy person, and they did all these things, and the problem resolved in 3 days. It was awesome. But she told me, she handed me this intervention called emotional freedom techniques. And she said, try this, it will change your life. And so I went after my symptoms. I tried it for the first time on the insomnia I had, because she was magical to me. And I was like, I'll do whatever you tell me. And I tried this on myself for insomnia. I was racing thoughts at night, and I started tapping through once. I took this deep breath, and I was like, I yawned. And then I did it again, and it takes about 30 seconds, and I fell right to sleep. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, what else can I try this on? And I started going after each symptom and started resolving them. All of my obsessions, I started using this intervention with them, and they would go away, and I would have mental freedom to do what I want instead of having to do the compulsion part of the obsessions. And then it was just, I just felt all this freedom, and I felt like this works. And then after doing more healing with my life, I came out of this mental health crisis. And I was just so much healthier and so much more farther along in my social development, all these different things. And I was like, I wonder if I can help somebody else with this. And so I did. And so it just really started growing from there, because I didn't know if it would work for other people the way it worked for me. And so I just in the experiment tried that, and it did. And then I was like, I wonder if I could help someone resolve a whole disorder. Because after doing this work, we would break through different anxiety pieces, and but they'd still have their anxiety disorder. And I was like, this is not acceptable. So I went after that, and it turned out that I could. And then I was really helping other people resolve their disorders. And then I was like, I wonder if we could do this faster. So then I got the idea to start teaching people how to do this work themselves. And then we would divide and conquer, and I'd have them do that layer of the work. And then we would do this layer. And then I'd eventually teach them how to do the work I was helping them do. And pretty soon we're coming out with these advanced skills that I had developed along my journey. So I didn't get them in their training for therapists. I don't know if therapists are taught this stuff. It's just stuff I learned that was needed along to complete the journey, the anxiety crisis or the anxiety disorder. And so that's really where I'm at now. And that's why I've developed the program, and that I walk my therapy clients through, my coaching clients through, and that I've now recently made available as a self-study option, because it's just, this is phenomenal. And these are the results I really wanted people to get. And it's really phenomenal to be in this place to really help people reach their goals. And, like what your whole podcast is titled, Awaken Your Inner Awesome. That's really what we find when we resolve these symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. They're places where the brain tells us, I'm stuck. I can't do this piece right here. And then we really can find that and follow those to the root issues, heal them. And then we become more of who we're supposed to be. We become a higher functioning part of ourselves. And that is really where that inner awesome comes, where we really can step into our dream life. We can step into healthier and deeper relationships and connection. And I do the brain work for resolving anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, but it's really all this other amazing stuff really starts to happen. The brain can finally do those things. So that's how I got here.
Well, I love that. And I love that you use EFT. I think it's a wonderful technique, but maybe there are some people out there listening who really don't understand what it is. So maybe you could give us a little brief overview of what EFT actually is.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. There's another EFT out there, and it is not this. So Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it is an intervention that uses the body's meridian system to help healing happen. And I thought this was the only intervention around. I was like, everyone needs to do this intervention. But I have since been trained. I've taken trainings on multiple different interventions, and I've found that it's not the intervention that's so awesome. It is really the brain that is so amazing. But the brain really has difficulties processing negative emotions, which means negative experiences, because those negative emotions can register as pain in the brain. And then you have the survival system jumping in and stopping healing from happening. And so when the rest of us is trying to like, hey, let's get this stuff processed, but that part of the brain's like, no. And so, and that part of the brain can override all the decisions. And so when it says the healing process gets shut down, it does. And so these interventions really work wonderfully because they're body interventions. That's what the survival system is listening to. Its job is to keep the body alive. And so it's receiving information from the body all the time. And we're going to live or we're going to die. Are we going to live? Are we safe or are we not safe? And so when you can use the body to send the signals to that part of the brain that, hey, we're safe, we're okay, you can let healing happen, it responds quickly, even though the body may be sending all this information, this negative energy that would naturally register as pain, because we are also sending this calming and this safety signal to the brain, to that part of the brain. It will join in the healing party and let healing happen. And then really, because the brain is electrical, all of a sudden, all this information and all this energy and emotion is able to make it to the front of the brain. And that's really where we get to create all of these new programs for ourselves, and we get to release emotion, and we get to process and heal, and really combine all that with who we are and be more of who we are. So just with these interventions, they really specifically help the whole brain work together on the healing projects. And because the brain is electrical and fast, we can really resolve things very quickly, like panic attacks or, somatic distress, which is that distress that shows up in your body, like your stomach or tension in your shoulders, or that tightness in your chest, or fluttering in your chest because of sadness or fear or whatever. But these interventions, like emotional freedom techniques, I also teach thought-filled therapy, which is another tapping meridian-based intervention. I also teach energy medicine, which has to do with multiple different energy systems, and EMDR, which is one of the most popular trauma and interventions in the country, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And so these are the ones I use and am familiar with using to really, and what I teach people to use for self-application, so that they can help their brain when their brain needs help, how their brain needs help in the moments when it needs help. Because it's one thing to work in an office with me or virtually, but your brain is having problems in your life. And so I think it's important to equip people with some tools to work with their brain where their brain needs it. And so that they can really resolve that and clear that stuff out, so they can show up for conflict if they're afraid of conflict, or they can do the things they need to do, set boundaries, communicate themselves, understand, hear themselves, different things that we need to do to be able to function and to be able to thrive. But because we keep having these survival states or this anxiety showing up, it's very difficult to have healthy conversations while our stomach is in knots. Or accomplish our focus when we're in the middle of a panic attack. It's very difficult to do those two things at the same time. And the brain, of course, wants to go take care of the problem, the ache in the stomach, the panic attack. And so when we get the brain off of that, it can really move forward and resolve those symptoms. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah. And, the thing about it, too, is when people are experiencing the panic attacks or they're experiencing depression and anxiety, it's hard to be motivated to really move forward in life. And so I find that a lot of people get stuck and they're in a place where they just don't want to try to tackle new things or be creative, because I think the brain is kind of blocked off from that creativity when it's focused on all of the negative things in your mind. And I think it's interesting too, because when people experience trauma, especially when it happens at a young age, they tend to get stuck in certain behavior patterns because that's where the trauma happened. And so it's important to then go back and to heal that and to treat it so that you don't stay stuck in those same behavior patterns, because you end up with fear-based thinking patterns where you always have your walls up. You're always looking for the shoe to drop. You're always looking for everything that's going to happen to you because this happened to you at a young age. And so I think a lot of people walk around in survival mode.
Absolutely. A lot more than we really understand. And really, sometimes I think it's important for people to understand that, but a lot of times I like to just get to work, because when people start understanding that, they can become very overwhelmed and that can shut them down further. But it's so true when we start to tune in to what our survival system is doing. One, it can be overwhelming, but two, it really, once we learn how have some successful experiences working with that part of our brain, it really makes it less scary, and it makes it like, oh, my survival system is all up in arms and let me see how I can help. And we always can help. that part of us is really standing by to be interacted with. But that's one of the challenges of early childhood trauma, is that the brain doesn't get to complete its whole cycle of healing sometimes, and mostly because we don't have enough support, or we don't have the right kind of support, especially if you have early childhood trauma because of a parent that's not emotionally well, or different things going on with parents, and the parents don't know how to help your nervous system, which is through hugging and soothing and comforting. Right. Sometimes parents just make it worse, which means that your nervous system is learning, if I get dysregulated, it's just going to go bad. And so we have these patterns of wanting to avoid when getting dysregulated and having emotions, because we know we're just going to lose control and fly off the handle. But really, especially when that's the case, we really need to be able to start working with the nervous system and teach you that, hey, when you go up, you can come back down and regulate.
Yeah.
And then when you go up again, you can come back down. And these tools really give you the opportunity to do that, because your survival system really listens to those. It responds so quickly to that. And so these old patterns of nervous system dysregulation, that needing to be on guard all the time, that lets us know our nervous system is up. Right. And so when we find that, and if we intervene and we can bring it back down and calm, which we can using these interventions within 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes sometimes, but we feel we're teaching it. We're getting to interact with this brilliant equipment that we have, and it's learning quickly. And so really and that can change your life, to come out of that heightened state of dysregulation and come down. But also, a lot of times we feel like, because we have this childhood, of not meeting our emotional needs, that we're just stuck like this. And it's not the case at all. We have our brain is ready to rewire for health and wellness, and for greater and greater health and wellness all the time. It's just learning how to work with that part of that brain in a way that gets us that outcome. And that's really the piece that's we're missing, because that survival system is so powerful. Once you go into a panic attack, there's no reasoning with it. That part of the brain is not a reasoning center. And so a lot of people are like, just get over it. You should know better, all these things. That part of the brain does not care. It's receiving signals from the body that we're not safe, and off it goes. And so, but to finally be able to have a way to communicate directly and influence that part of the brain quickly is life-changing. Yeah. Very empowering.
And I love that you not only work with people to show them how, and to work with them and to, rewire the brain to make new neural pathways with them, but you're also giving them the tools so that they know how to do that themselves. Because I think that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Is to empower people by giving them the tools and giving them what they need in order to be able to do this on their own. Because it is like you said, you can work with the counselor, but you don't have the counselor in your pocket with you when you leave. And when something happens, you're like, I don't know how to deal with this because my counselor's not here. So the fact that you're giving them the tools and saying, when you experience this, or when this happens, do this, use this tool, you have this at your disposal. So I love that you do that for people.
Yes. Yeah, it's really huge. And I'm thinking about the point you made about depression and motivation. Because it's a survival state, depression is, it's very difficult to be in a survival state and the front of your brain where creativity takes place. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times people really feel bad, like I have no motivation, I have no willpower, I have no energy. And the truth there is that the brain is very busy during depression, and it's burning through so much of our energy that we don't have stuff left for other things. And so really in those situations, I really like to help the brain work on whatever it's trying to work on. Whatever is under there that it's working hard to work through, which is usually pain of some sort. Sometimes it's grief pain, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's overwhelm, sometimes it's everything, shame, past traumas, past experiences that were just painful. When we jump in there and help it do the work, it can shift people out of these depressive states so much faster. And I like to trust the brain. If the brain says we need depression to survive, I believe you. I'm not trying to take your depression off. I want to come underneath there and why? Why do we need to show me where the pain is? Why do we need this depression underneath here? And it will take you there every time. And then you just do your work in there and you help the brain process that pain. And the next thing you know, the brain is like, oh, wait, hold up. Those pain signals aren't coming up like this. We could take half of this stuff down. We don't need it, but we still need this. And then I want to know, well, why? Why do you still need this depression? And then it will keep telling you, and you keep resolving those issues. And then the brain will take the depression down itself. It doesn't want to be depressed any more than we do. Yeah. But if that's what it needs to survive, then it's going to.
It's sort of like peeling away layers of an onion, and you clear through one layer and then something else emerges, like, yeah, this might have been the initial trauma, but then as we layer things back, more emotions surface, and then you have to work through those things too. So it is a process, but it sounds like you've come up with a very efficient way to quickly help people get to the root of that, which is great, because I know people go to counseling for years and never really resolve their trauma. So
yes, I did not help people want that. Yes, yeah. I did not want that. I don't want that for me.
Yeah. I don't want to see you for 12 years. No offense.
No. And yeah, not the client, but I have been, I wanted to hit this and quit this. I wanted out. I did not want to be, I have children to love. I have adventures to go on. I do not want this to be a massive feature in my life. Yes. Okay. I acknowledge I need to do this work, but let's do it. And so that's really what my process is built on. And so which is why I really specialize in helping people do this in 2 to 6 months. But I have other clients that they really need a little bit longer, but I know that there's people that are like, no, for real, let's get it done. Yeah. And so that's really, and the brain can do multiple things at once. And it is about layering, but some people already have been doing so much of their own inner work that there needs to be, we need to heal emotional wounds, but then we need to help the brain help itself, to help our infrastructure, a very beautiful infrastructure where that's built for us, not, and which is the subconscious programming, but not built for our parents, or not built for our sibling, or our gender, or our, we need this to be, we need our inner world to fit us and to support us. And it doesn't always do that. And some parents don't know how to accomplish that. And some people that have parents that are wonderful, they still can't build a subconscious program specifically for that person. That has to be done from the inside out, so.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who, they spent a lot of time working on their own and they get a lot of things done. But I think that there comes a point sometimes when you can only do so much by yourself because you don't have all of the knowledge and the skill that others have that have been trained to help you. But also, sometimes I think we're so close to our own trauma that it's hard for us to be able to get to the root of it and to treat it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's sometimes just too close, but there's other pieces to this, especially with people that have early relationship trauma, like attachment wounding with their parents. They will need relationships to heal. And actually there's a lot of research showing that being in relationship with somebody that is regulated and grounded while you're around them will repair your nerves and the myelin sheath around them. I have not dug into this a ton, but I have dug into the fact that this work really changes how your brain is physically shaped. And so we do need people. Yeah. And, and recently I've been reviewing clients and just like pondering some of the clients that I have that have taken longer to heal and why we're not getting the same results from them as I get for the other ones. And some of that is because they have current trauma, right? When you have current trauma going on, if you're losing a loved one, if a marriage is ending, the brain really needs to stay focused on that. And it's not really a great time to do post-traumatic stress work or other projects. But the other piece to this that I'm finding is that people just don't have a well-functioning enough support system, where maybe in some of these cases, I'm the only one in their life that they have as a support. And we're just not meant for that. and as awesome as I think I am, I'm not, we're meant for webs of relationships. But when your trauma has programmed into you that people are not safe, that makes it very difficult. And so, because you need to be stable enough to do this work. And so sometimes the real trick is to do this work while building the support system. So, and for me, I'm constantly reviewing clients and seeing like the path and creating stuff very unique to different situations. But yeah, we definitely need people. And the other thing that I really have built my program for is I want people to be skilled. I want them to do their own work, because nobody's going to put the same amount of time into your healing that you are. And I found that to resolve a disorder, and not everybody who has anxiety issues has the whole disorder, but to resolve a disorder, it takes about 120 to 300 hours of specific and targeted brain work using these interventions, helping the brain do its work. Let me regroup here for a second, because I'm not certain where I was going. I do. Excuse me.
That's okay. That happens when you're highly intelligent. That's what I've been told. So I'm going to go with that. Let's go with that excuse.
Oh man, I want to finish that thought. Give me 1 second.
How many hours it took to rewire that brain?
Okay. Yes, using it. Okay, so and so doing that. So if you're trained in it, you can do a majority of that work. I have clients, the ones that want to hit this and quit this, I have them do 2 hours of this per day, like 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, just watching I set them on specific tasks that they're looking for, specific brain function. And then, but there's that other component of, I want them to have great skills, because I want them to be able to do deep work, and I want them to be able to do all the work they can do. And then there's going to be some piece that it's really great to have a partner with, and to have another professional in there and looking at that. And I've personally found that very fun. I encourage my clients to go travel and do different interventions and work with different people, because you just get all these different perspectives, but you're partnering with people. You're not in a place where I need you to this, or I will stay in a disorder. I want people to be able to meet their own need, and then add on some frosting and some sprinkles on top, really, which is what other people can do for you.
Yeah, I love that you have people working with others, because I think that you're exactly right. Like, you have to have a support system around you. So what would you say to somebody who's maybe out there listening, who knows they need to do work and they know that they need this, but maybe they don't have people around them who are supportive? Maybe the people around them are, making fun of them for wanting to go get the work, or, because people can be very negative and discouraging.
Yeah. And even, let me just answer that question. The first thing I would say is get a tool, get a intervention like emotional freedom techniques, thought field therapy, energy medicine, or EMDR. And EMDR is not a great one to pick up first. It has some really gnarly side effects. So some of these other ones just don't have side effects that we know of, and work really, really quickly. And so I would start with that. And then the deal is that you want to find whatever support you can find that fits you, that feels good. And this is where you trust yourself and you listen to yourself. But you might try an acupuncturist. You might try, I send people, because the trauma and this stuff, the stuck emotion needs to leave the body. It's not stuff that people need to talk about. It needs to clear from the body. If it leaves the body, if it resolves from the body, the rest of the brain usually can resolve whatever it needs to do. So I really send people to body workers like acupuncturists, energy medicine, professionals, massage therapists, yoga. I have a naturopath I send people to, because I want them to do their vitamin and mineral work, because we are looking for root causes of these symptoms. And sometimes that really is vitamins and minerals. Neurofeedback, like I love Len's neurofeedback. I will send people for that. But the thing is I send them for these specific things, but if they also find the right provider when they're there, they can really build some relationship skills and have some people on their team. And so, and that can be a really safe place to get going, because there seems to be more structure and there's an ethics community, and there's just a lot more safety in there than there can be in a natural system. But once your brain can start building a safety program with somebody and start experiencing safety with somebody, it will take it and it will replicate that in other areas. And so we just want to get that ball rolling and feel good about it. And so, but that can be tough, because sometimes, gosh, some of my biggest setbacks with clients have been after doctor's appointments with doctors who are not educated or supportive of mental health. And so, I also know that it's a tricky thing, and sometimes prepping people to keep looking and keep trying until they can find the people that are really great fits for them.
Yeah, I love all the suggestions that you made, but I also love that you talk about finding people that they kind of can, I guess I always say your energy lines up with that person.
Yes. Yes.
Especially physicians, because, that is one thing in this past year that I have had to do, is like trying to go out and find physicians, and it is amazing how much of a difference it makes if they are condescending, don't
Yes.
have a good bedside manner,
Yes.
aren't open to alternative forms of medicine, alternative forms of
Yeah.
treating things. And I think mental health is so super important. And if you have physicians who are just kind of brushing that off and saying, well, that's not a big deal, that's crucial. That's critical. You need someone who's supporting you in that area too. So, and not to just say, take these drugs,
Right.
Because medicine is great and it's wonderful that they have it and it's helpful, but it's so much better to do the work and to go at it, I think, in a more natural way than just by throwing drugs at things. So I love that you encourage people to find their supportive team through other ways, Yeah. And I think you do. You have to align with the people that you trust with your medical history.
Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. I have it's not just with the mental health. It's really can be with any, especially the marginalized groups of people, like people with struggling with obesity. There's usually trauma involved with why that is there, and I think that's one of the problems I've had the most with providers, is addressing that stuff insensitively. Or have you ever thought about losing weight? No, never.
Yeah,
Actually,
that never crossed my
never
mind.
crossed my mind, right? And just mishandling that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping to see some big shifts in that. But yeah, finding the people that match, really just, but so I want to touch on the medication piece. I consider medication support, and some people really will need that to do this work. Probably about 10% of the people I work with either come to me already on medication, or we have a conversation. I probably have a conversation with about 5% of my clients that they just need extra support to do this inner work. And then once that's built up and we've resolved symptoms, then their brain says, do I really need this medication? Because what's it doing here? And then we'll start the process of, they'll talk with their doctor, and then they'll come down off of that, and medication will usually be still holding some symptoms for them, and so then we work on resolving those symptoms. But what's been really great is I've had lots of people come to me who are like, if this doesn't work, I'm going to need lots of medication. And so, but they've been able to do this healing work and never need the medication. And it's really when our brains can meet its needs, when our brains get what they want, we get what we want. And so it really is so valuable to do this work. And even if you just throw some medication on top, it doesn't mean the brain got to do the healing work it wanted to do. And that's vitally important. I mean, there's studies showing that the more complex childhood trauma you have that's unresolved, the higher your likelihood of you're going to die from one of the big five uglies. And So we're beginning to make a correlation between our emotional wellness and our physical health. And there absolutely is I'm like, I don't need a study. I can demonstrate
that.
this. Yeah. So
yeah, I agree with you so much. I do. I agree that so much of that is connected. And I think that it's great that when we can incorporate all of the healing modalities into our world, not just the medical doctors and then the medications that they can prescribe, but also the energetic healing, the emotional healing, all of that. I think it all fits together perfectly to help others heal, because that emotional part is huge. That is a huge part of our physical health.
Absolutely. And our success in life. It's like the number one indicator of success. Emotional intelligence, emotional wellness, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. Well, I want to thank you so much for all the work you're doing and for being here with us today. And I know we probably have some people out there listening who are thinking, this sounds like something that I need or something that I would like to explore more. So if anyone's out there listening and they want to work with you, because I know you have this 8-week program, but I think you also have some free tools too for people on your website. Absolutely. So what is the best way for people to get to that?
My website. Everything is on my website, my 8-week intensive coaching program, the online self-study program, access to my email where I hand out these interventions. You get them on the very first day, the first one. And then 2 days later, would you like to try this intervention? Because you never know which one somebody's brain's going to like. Right. And I like to equip people with them. And so, and in my Facebook group, I even give more. So it's something, all of that's available on my website. You can find my YouTube channel there. You can find my Facebook page. And that's RachelMcCloud.com. And my name is spelled like Rachelle. So that's RachelleMcCloud.com. And so
we will have the link to that in the show notes too. So if anyone wants to go to her website or to the YouTube channel, you can just click on the link in the show notes. It'll take you right there. Right on. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being here with us. And one of the things that I always like to ask our guests to leave us with is a little nugget of wisdom that our listeners can take with them for the day. So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to give us just a little piece of wisdom for the day.
I would have really encouraged people to heal, just be inspired to heal, just let that grow, but really get an intervention, because really the intervention using that can really give you not just the inspiration, but like some evidence like, maybe there's something to this. So that's really it's play with the interventions, try different interventions, find the ones that work for you and that you see some results in, and use them a lot. Really.
I love that. And I love everything that you're doing to help people heal, because I think it's so super important. And it really does help people to awaken their inner awesomeness when they're able to let go and heal from all of that trauma. So thank you so much for being here today and for helping others.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Glad to be here.
And I want to thank all of you for being here with us today as well. As always, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. Please leave a positive review from wherever you're listening. And the greatest compliment you can pay me is to share this podcast with anyone you think might be able to benefit from it. Don't forget that you can follow me on social media. And if you would like to work with me, just go to melissaoatman.com. There you'll see all the services I offer. You can join me on Patreon, where you'll get to see a video of this interview, and you'll get 2 extra episodes per week. So the link will be in the show notes. Come join us. I'd love to have you there. I hope that you guys are having a beautiful day from wherever you're listening. As always, I'm sending you so much love and light, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.